It ain't going well. It ain't going well, buddy. It's not.
For your picks or for who?
Well, that too. Okay. First of all, Sandra from Moonlighting. I don't know what I did with the video. I thought I fixed it, and evidently I didn't. I knew it as soon as I heard overlapping music. So I got a new video, new intro on here, Mike, and we didn't lose Moonlighting as a sponsor. So fear not.
You're about
Um,
to.
I'm about to. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's on the horizon for sure. Not yet, anyway. Right. Um, no, but I'll fix the music here. I don't know what the hell's going on. I thought I got it all good. But anyway, US Open, Mike. I don't know where to begin. I'm scoreboard watching this morning. First of all, I'm glad that it's on that we're on the current time zone compared to other events. But
Yes, it's very
let's
nice.
your who did you pick? Who was your dark horse pick, Mike, for the event? I don't even remember.
Ernie Regulario.
Okay, he survived a scare. I forgot who the
Yeah.
hell he almost lost to. Who did he almost? It was
Uh,
golly, I was watching it because I was getting ready to talk shit to you via text message like I usually do during these events. Um, let's see. Max says you're not coming, Mike. I'm not going to Atlantic City. That Mike right below is going. When are you heading out, Mike?
I go out there first thing tomorrow morning.
Nice, nice. What are you looking forward to, Mike? Because I feel like there's a lot of like sub storylines, but there's not nothing yet so far that's kind of like
Yeah,
sticking out to me.
it's early from that standpoint, but just there's still the Americans are not doing well. So by the time I get out there, I could be watching the U.S. closed. But there's
Oh man, I see what you did there. Okay, all right.
there's a lot of good. I mean, there's a lot of fun players to watch. I'm looking. Who knows whether this Finnish kid who mopped up Shane is still going to be in. Um, or not. But I mean, you got to be on your bicycle to watch this guy because he gets around the table in a rush. Um, and so he's going to be fun to watch. There's some, I've been looking forward to seeing Bassett play. Um, you know,
But Seth, yeah, he lost Hill to Robbie.
yeah, he did.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a lot of good. It's a great field. It's a fun field. I mean, there's a lot of good action out there. Someone posted a couple of upsets right out of the gate. Um,
When this morning, today?
no, in the last 2 days. That someone mentioned it on your post,
Oh.
asking who the surprises have been.
Well, I mean, the Finnish kid for sure yesterday. And Mike, like when I start seeing, I usually pay attention to flags because they do a good job. All these tournament brackets of like dumbing it down for us in terms of like, and there's certain things that I just look for, and they're not Americans ever in a tournament, and so it's always it's always European and Asian players that I keep an eye on, and some of them are guys who we know, usual suspects,
Yeah,
that other guys are going to be like this kid on table one, which Lu Hui Chen, who's up 7-4 on Sky. Mike, I couldn't pick this kid out of a lineup. I've never even heard the
no,
name before.
no,
So, and he's up 7-4 on probably America's most clutch player in the Mosconi Cup over the last, 7 years or so. And so, it just kind of shows the depth. But in regards to the Finnish kid, um, Mike, I was scoreboard watching him, and Michelle had texted us both in a group chat yesterday about him playing one pocket and all these things. And when I start seeing these unfamiliar names on tournament brackets, I just I start to like just scoreboard watch in terms of who are they playing against, what's going
right,
on,
right.
and how much of a fight are these kids putting up. And to be honest with you, like we didn't get to go over the bracket, me and you, and I wanted to, but when I was kind of like just overlooking everything, that second round matchup with Shane was one that I thought, okay, just given the fact that has been doing pretty good, like in tournaments, I was like, this could be a potential kind of trap match for Shane. Obviously, I would have never picked the kid to go and win outright, Mike, but it
Right.
was a hell of a story, and I'll be honest with you, he was a lot of fun to watch, Mike.
It was a lot of fun to watch. I mean, he doesn't take a lot of time, and he's got young eyes, young nerve. He was firing at long shots, just like they were hangers. So let's see whether you can string 2 or 3 matches like that together, or whether that was kind of a flyer. It was Matt Edwards who I was thinking about, who defeated.
Oh, he's doing some damage, Mike. He's
Yeah,
beat
he knocked
he
off
beat
Mickey.
Oliver and Mickey. That's solid.
Yeah, Oliver and Mickey. So that's a pretty good start to your tournament. So yeah, it's been fun to watch. I was hoping Miko would beat Albin and get into the final 64, but he still has another bullet.
Well, he gave him a fight through 10 games. Mike did
Yeah, yeah, it was 5-5, and he won his first 2 matches. So we'll see what he does on the loser side. See if he can win that qualification match and get into tomorrow's matches. So that I'll be watching that one for sure. That one is, I think, about 7 o'clock tonight. He plays.
Mac says,
Or
"Don't
no,
look at John Mora when he's shooting. He doesn't like it when you're looking at him." Okay, well, I don't know if
who is that?
that Mac saying little drama yesterday with John Mora. Don't look at him while he's shooting. He doesn't like it when you look at him. Some of these players,
For
Mike.
the opposition?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I guess so. I don't know. I don't know if it was him, like watching the sidelines, but some players are just a little. They can be a little soft sometimes, Mike. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I mean, we know players' propensity for you know allowing nothing to get into their heads as if
oh yeah,
it's they're so you're sharking if you don't move, you're sharking if you move, you're sharking if you whatever. We hear that stuff all the time. So um, and
I hear you're the relative like sharking expert, Mike. Like you're the one to judge whether or
I
not
just
it's
know what
sharking or
optics.
not.
I just know what optics look good and what optics don't look good.
Okay. Okay. I
Uh,
digress. I'll leave it alone, Mike.
no names attached to any of that. But then yeah, I mean, you have the extreme of that, which has been Earl at this tournament. It's been, you know, I, I love and respect Earl. I've known him for a million years. It's painful um, to watch him do during these matches. And
Consistently.
it's not his playing style. It's his lack of respect for his opponent and for the crowd and for everything that's going on around him that he feels the need to comment on and bark at and whatever. And it just it's there was a post from the kid that he played yesterday, and the kid talked about how excited he was to play Earl and get in a match with him. And he said from about the second or third game on, he
Vogel?
was just, I'm sorry.
Is it Felix you're talking about?
No, 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 not Felix Vogel. It was somebody else who played him on the losers bracket, I guess. Um, and it just, it just sounded awful. I mean, um, Sharam Changaze.
Oh, that's who we played. That's who we said it was awful after the couple first
Yeah,
games. What you're saying?
yeah. He said it was. He said it was brutal. He said, he said it was really frustrating and disappointing. He just kind of left the kid with a bad taste in his mouth about an event that he was excited to play in and an idol that he was excited to play against. I mean,
Yeah.
that's that's just not worth watching anymore. It's not good
Yeah.
theater.
Listen, let me tell you, Mike.
It doesn't add
People.
personality to the match. It doesn't anything.
Well, look, I got a pretty strong opinion when it comes to the Pearl playing in some of these events, but like I do think that it adds some personality for sure. It's his own unique like style, if you want to call it that, or
Listen, I
character,
love
character or
personality.
lack
I like
thereof.
guys who talk during a match. I just don't want them to talk shit to their opponent
Well,
or call them lucky or stuff like that. That's just be outspoken, outgoing in on your own game or whatever it is, but don't drag down some you know
there's
player.
like I think Earl's just of that generation where it's just you just respect your elders and do as I say, not as I do type attitude, and it is a little bit painful to watch whenever we do get to see him during any event that he's in. He's usually on TV table because Matchroom knows the amount of eyes that people will go and get, and they're not watching. I mean, they watch for the sake of like what he means to Pool and what he meant to them in terms of like them becoming fans of Pool. But like from a competitive sports standpoint, I mean, he's not there anymore. Um, like in his career, as far as being a threat. And if I'm one of these kids, Mike, or not one of these kids, if I'm just out there playing this guy, and I don't know, I want to say this like with as much respect as possible, even though it's really really disrespectful. Um, and I would just flat out tell him, hey, look, I don't want to hear you. Just shut the fuck up. Like, I don't, I'm
Pull
no,
a Jeremy Jones. Pull a
yeah,
Jeremy
yeah,
Jones.
yeah,
Put your cue
yeah.
on the table and call him outside and
We
let's
can
take
go,
this outside.
we can
Yeah.
go step
And
outside.
if they want, if Antrim wants theater or people watching
Well,
on
that's what they have
streams
him on
want
there for,
theater,
right?
then be part of the theater. I mean, the kid
Yeah,
would have called him out and whatever. But but then you're playing his game and you're getting out of your game and you're not. It's not a matter of respect. It's a matter of are you playing your game or do you want to get involved in that crap? So um, it was too bad to watch that. I mean, I still like watching Earl play because he can still come with some shots, and he
yeah.
plays fast and he moves around the table. You just know he knows how to,
But
he
he
knows
self
exactly what's
implodes.
supposed
Like
to happen. He just doesn't hit it as straight as he used to. So, it just that was disappointing. But I don't want to spend a lot of time on Earl because there's a lot of guys who are still in the tournament who
well, no,
are
you
really
already
good.
done opened up that box, Mike. I'm not gonna let you off the hook with our Earl conversation,
I
especially
just wanted to
considering
get
the
it
fact
out.
that I
Just
didn't.
wanted to get it out of the way.
Well, I didn't prep any for this show as it was outside of just watching. So like I'm very content in going down that rabbit hole. And listen, it's there because they allow it to be there. So like the conversations that happen after the fact, and Earl with his antics and attitude kind of bring these type of discussions on himself. And so while like there's a comment in the chat about they should have invited Efren. I think, listen, if I'm Matchroom, I would pay Efren's entry fee and hotel for and flight for that matter for every event, just for the sake of what the potential could be. And in terms of like getting like these that generation of eyes on there, plus current generation of fans who respect him. And he's a great ambassador and a great story, and he can pull things out of his ass in terms of like great shots, great upset wins, things like that. I would rather go down that road, or both of them for that
Yeah,
matter. You
you
know,
would for sure, but Efren's not going. Yeah, Efren's not interested in flying all over the world to play in events just to be, a
you don't
poster.
think if the money's good enough, if they guarantee him some money, that he
Uh,
wouldn't do it?
you'd have to guarantee him a pretty good chunk of money. I mean, if the event's in Asia, the Philippines Open, even Hanoi, something like that, he's not coming to Atlantic City for a week to be a showcase. I don't think. It would have to be a pretty good payday.
I'd
Um,
rather go that. I just would rather go that route.
I would too,
Oh
of course,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
just think you got to pick your spots. Like I said, put them in the Hanoi Open, put them in the Philippines Open. That'd be great.
Well, from a budget standpoint, it would make a lot more sense. That's for sure. Keeping them in Asia. And look, so it's the U.S. Open. The guy Earl's won 5 of these things, so
I mean,
I mean, like he can do whatever the hell he wants. Wherever the hell he wants. But
U.S.
just be,
Open champions get a free invite. They get a
yeah,
free pass to come in if they want to. So yeah,
I just like this. Just be aware of the fact that like all things are fair in terms of criticism on his bullshit, you know, like old man antics. You know what I mean? And so it can be a little cringe sometimes, but Poole does need a little bit of like cringe eyes on him, because
yeah,
I do feel like
yeah.
it pulls some outside eyes in there that otherwise wouldn't to some extent.
I'd rather have someone who's got the ability to win matches. Then it would be more interesting.
Well,
I mean,
that's the sad part about seeing the antics, in my opinion, anyways, because I do think he's got some lightning left in the bottle. Now, do I think he can go and make a final 8 appearance? No, I don't. But like, I think he can go and be a spoiler. I think he could
you
be.
think he's got final 64 in him? I
Stranger
don't.
things have happened. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
like
no doubt. Strange things have happened.
yeah. I mean, but I just the when you go and tune into his matches, right? It's any like when he's on the table, you're hoping for like a flash of greatness that was.
Right.
But when he's off the table, you're just as engaged in watching the Earl side of it to see like, okay, what's Earl gonna do? Because you know he's gonna do something. He always does something, and the commentators don't, waste any opportunities going and discussing it for that matter. Especially Carl, which I just love, by the way, and um, because he'll call a spade during all that, and they'll have some pretty, you know, candid discussions on there. All things considered, the fact that they're on TV and all that, but um, yeah, it's a little like someone just has to check him, and Earl needs to be checked. I feel like, you know what I mean. Like I'm not saying literally go outside, but go and pull a double J and say, hey, either pipe down or we can step outside. Um, and I bet you like Barry would love to see something like that happen
Yeah,
on
sure.
prime time TV. You know what I mean? So on the note of Barry though, Mike, I don't know if you got to catch that Netflix promo, but I thought that was pretty cool. And if you did get to see it, what were your thoughts on it, man?
It looked interesting. Um, yeah. I mean,
Be honest with me, Mike. Nobody watches this shit anyway. Go,
I'd be interested to see the whole package. How much I interested to see how much time they spend on pool. I don't know how many episodes the series is.
yeah,
Most of the promo appeared to be about boxing and you know and
as it should, Mike.
yeah, and snooker, which is his foundation for the whole company. So and that's fine. It seems to be a lot about, at least the promo was all Barry and Eddie, which maybe that's just one episode is Barry and Eddie. They're I'm not. I want to turn over the ratings, but I don't think he's there yet. All that kind of father son crap. It was fun. Um, it should be interesting. Really well done, I'm sure. Any of those Netflix specials are pretty good.
There's like a few, you know, moments in doing all this over the years that I just really remember, and reflect on and kind of think like that was pretty cool. Just personally, one of them was meeting Barry for the first time and speaking to him and just being in awe of how much of a showman that he is, and it's interesting that they went that down that road in terms of like the title of it, you know what I mean? And so but it's not lost on me because if you speak to him and when you see him and when you hear him, it's like, man, he gets you fired up. Like he gets you excited, Mike.
Talking to people who work for him. Anytime he walks into a room, it's like all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're about ready to run through a wall for the guy. So yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be cool. It'll be a good watch.
You can tell like how sharp that they are, in just that brief little fraction that you went and saw there in terms of the show. And um you know I like I posted yesterday, Mike, I love watching sports stuff. 30 for 30s aren't lost on me. I love watching those. And I watch Netflix and the documentaries, and I like stuff like that personally, and being a sports fan, when I see stuff that's kind of combined, it's something that I'll keep an eye on, especially as a kid when I start seeing all these like things on, when I was growing up of like the Jordan era and blah blah blah, and seeing things behind the scenes, all that stuff just kind of hits home for me
Yeah,
at this point in my life. And so seeing this as a pool fan is great. Obviously pool is always going to be the redheaded stepchild when you start having these sports like boxing and darts and snooker and all these things. And look, one thing that I loved watching it was just start seeing like the fire and the athletes, seeing Luke on there, the kid, I don't even know how old he's, like in his early 20s probably. And and how much personality and fire that he has. And then you start seeing like Ronnie out there, and I'm like, oh man, I want to see what Ronnie has to say, and
yeah,
all these things, Mike. And but no, I genuinely thought, and this isn't like me kissing their ass or anything. I genuinely thought that like it was a great promo. Like it made me want to watch. It
yeah,
made me it it got the hook in me. You know what I mean? It got the hook to want to sweat want to sweat like what all is going on and what the episodes will be about. I don't know how much pool's going to be in there. you know, and
It'll be a good portion of one episode, would be my guess.
you think
Uh,
so?
yeah, I like again. I don't know how many episodes this is, but there'll be a lot. There'll be an episode all on Eddie and Barry, and there'll be an episode on the growth, the start of the company through
Yeah,
Snooker, and there'll be a growth on there'll be a whole show, at least one whole show, I'm sure, devoted to the whole boxing, building of the boxing empire. I'm sure, maybe they'll split an episode with darts and pool. I imagine darts will get most of it because he even
yeah.
commented darts are most profitable, segment right now. Um, so yeah, it'll be interesting how they sell it. Yeah,
Thanks for the heads up in terms of the audio, you guys. I'm working on getting another laptop here, and this one's about to run its course, and so I know part of that's the way this thing processes video, but just bear with us in the
yeah. It
meantime. But
sounds you sound fine on my end, so I'm not sure
okay,
where it's going south, but
yeah. I gotta up it, and with having four girls during the summer, kind of busted my budget. But we'll get there. We're gonna get there. So, but yeah, no, look, it made me real excited to go and tune in, and the way that you're kind of projecting it makes sense to me, and that's how you tell a story. And I'll be honest, like I don't follow Netflix on social media to know how their promos usually go, but like I said, this one has got me pretty excited just from a sports aspect of it, and it makes me want to. And I'm a victim to like I'm not in love with boxing just because I'm of this like UFC MMA era. So when it comes to like fighting and the underbelly of boxing and judges and all these things are just kind of like lost on me. And it's a moneymaker, which is great,
yeah,
and it's pay-per-view machine, but like I haven't really been able to get into it. Whereas on the dart side of things, I love the personality. So I'll tune in. On the snooker side of it, I'll tune in whenever. Like whenever I get reminded that there's something snooker going on, I pay my monthly thing to the like WST mic, and I'm sweating it and enjoying it, and
yeah,
and just loving every minute of it. There's always great stories like Ronnie's, you know, two maximums the other day, which is nuts, and
yeah.
then
It's
him losing
crazy.
in the final.
Oh
Like
man,
it's just
yeah,
yeah, it was unbelievable, and after the amount of time and just like, we mentioned Barry and his son, and it's like Ronnie's of that generation too, where he's just a showman, and when he wants to be, he can very much play that exciting role. And I love guys of snooker because most of them, not most of them, at least a lot of the popular players, they have a real exciting style of play to them. Like they're not afraid to let it rip. Trump comes to mind
yeah.
amongst others, and
Luca,
but like, yeah, yeah. I mean, but even like watching Higgins and all these guys as well, who maybe aren't as excited behind the cue, I still love and appreciate their greatness and what they're able to go and achieve. And there's these like, I don't know a lot about them personally outside of the table, obviously, but like the rivalry part on the table is not lost on me when I get to sweat some of these matches,
yeah,
Mike.
yeah,
You know, and so that part of it I can certainly appreciate. And I followed World Snooker Tour on Instagram, and came across this like short about players talking about who's the greatest, and every one of them saying Ronnie. And I'm a big fan. I don't know if you can tell, but behind here I actually have a O'Sullivan photo right there,
oh
and
yeah,
that's yeah. And I'm a huge fan of them, and I just love snooker. It's a great game. So seeing some of these things behind the scenes is going to be a lot of fun to go and watch as well, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Uh, and I hope maybe one day we can get one of the sticker guys on there. So unlikely, but I'll keep swinging, Mike. So um, anyhow, Mike, I want to just touch base on this kid from the one who beat SVB yesterday, because he had an exciting style of play to him. He was a lot of
yeah.
fun to watch. The one thing that I loved about him though, Mike, is going listening to Matchroom's interview afterwards. Was just how cold blooded this kid was. Like he was like, and he was responding with as much respect to Shane as you can give, but at the same time, like really in his own little world. And that's kind of what he looked like out there playing. It was like, hey kid, you're supposed to lose 9-1 to Shane on the TV table at the U.S.
You're
Open,
supposed to
you
at
know,
least look a little nervous or
and he
surprised at how
didn't.
well you're doing or something. Well, he moves too fast to
Yeah,
to to let anything affect him. It's like, I don't have time to think about this because I got to shoot, and he does that. Right now, he's losing 2-0 to Brandon Schuff, but That's
It's funny you
second.
say that because I just looked up and that was the first thing that I
It's
noticed
second.
as well. God bless him. Man. That's Pool though, right? In a nutshell.
But I mean, you see him yesterday. You're like, now don't go like two and out from here. I want to see.
Yeah.
Put a
Yeah.
couple of these together. Let's make a story out of this.
No, I mean this is why like that's the 16 seed in the NCAA tournament right there. Like going up against
Yeah,
a number one seed, and Pool can can have these like poetic storylines like that where like everything that's supposed to happen does happen, but then there can also be like this beautiful chaos and
yeah.
these stories that come out of nowhere, which I just absolutely love. And certainly he was that yesterday. I'll be honest with you, Mike, like watching him play and just watching Pool in general over the last like especially having this like ultimate Pool coming to the US, like I think I think that there ought to be more of a shot clock just for the sake of the excitement factor that it could bring to the game, because these a lot of these players pace, which they're great like in terms of who they are as a player on the table, but a lot of these players when they play the game, they're fucking boring to watch, Mike. Like
Yeah.
they are tough to watch because of their processes. And I know like some purists may go and say like it can take away, but I don't know, Mike. Watching that kid yesterday, it just makes me more like it further validates that argument for me because like yeah, he beat Shane, it was great, but like his pace was exciting.
Oh
Like
yeah, it was. Yeah.
I don't know if he was gonna two rail the ball and miss it, or if he and there was some shots. I forgot that it was like a long table, like back cut to the upper left, and he just shotgunned that ball in there and
I think
just
I
hit the
know exactly
fucking
which one you're talking about. I was
back of the
watching. I'm
pocket,
like,
Mike.
man, yeah,
Yeah, you know. But I love that though. I love seeing that and I love that style of play. And I feel like to some extent you have to kind of force the player's hands. And it may be a tough learning curve for some people, but like some of their play is just a little tough. Like Matt says, make this kid Sufi. Like Sufi's great to watch. Josh, part of the reason why he's great is because of his pace of play.
right.
Like he's seeing these players who are in rhythm. Kelly comes to mind, on the women's side of things. She didn't get the nickname Quick Fire for nothing. It's like their pace of play, the Mika Imanins of the world, who was a great story yesterday, beating Mark Biesterbosch. It's like it part of it is like you become more fans of these guys because of their style of play.
Yeah, yeah. So
It's
who's through to the final 64 that surprised you? Anybody?
well, let me bring it up here. So I'm going to WNT live
You got
scores and
Federer, you got Simon Corral, beat
yeah,
Max.
Simon
Uh,
beat Max. He beat Oscar yesterday. The Victor and Jesus match is going to be fire. That one's coming up on
yeah,
table
that's gonna be
one
good. That's
here
gonna be
pretty
real.
soon. Yeah, you want to talk about contrast the styles? Those two have very different styles, but both very exciting in their own rights. Like Victor, his unorthodox play and his sweaty palms and the moment's gonna be fun to watch. And for how decorated he is and what the expectations are, along with Jesus and being a current story and very flavor of the day. And kudos to Matchroom for capitalizing on that because they've had this kid on TV table for the
Yeah,
last couple days, Mike and Jesus.
gonna be on the TV
Um,
table, coming
yeah.
up here against Victor.
Matt Edwards, like you mentioned, Mike, those were two solid wins, and even that first round win against Mark Vidal. Um, I'm
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm a fan of Mark. He's a really good guy,
yeah.
and I like his style of play, and he's a grinder. I see him in a tournament like this, and especially here in the States, he's he's gonna be a guy who sneaks under the radar. So like that win against Matt Edwards, actually that match against Matt Edwards. To be honest with you, when I first saw it on looking over the bracket, I was actually thinking Mark's gonna win because I was
Yeah,
like, that's like the Mark Vidal special right there, where he can just beat a guy like that. Matt Edwards comes
right.
away with the win, and then two solid ones after that. Mike, you beat Oliver coming off the World Games, and Mickey with the year that he's having. You can't help but be impressed for sure. Um, let's see, Tyler's through, so that's no surprise. Albin's through this morning. Neil's beating Maciel. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, it's a good win for Niels. Yeah,
That's a very good win. And I hate to say it, but listen, this is probably like the whole season for Niels right here. especially considering some other guys who were threats in the same range as his, who are like half his age, in Mickey and Jonas, that are both on one loss side.
Right.
For Niels, this and after him kind of fizzling out in the world championship, I kind of feel like, look, you gotta make a move, and now is your
Yeah.
time, Mike. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Be good to see him get a little further. Uh, we saw Bernie getting through.
yeah,
Kazakis, um, Yap, Yap. And Naoki Oi. He's always through. He's, he
he has
doesn't
been playing like surprisingly well lately, Mike. Like he's transitioned for me into,
last 2 years.
yeah,
Last,
consistent.
yeah, really good. Uh,
Like I want to see him take that leap from like final 16 and get into a semifinal, and I mean get into a semifinal and seal the deal, and I'm not saying he's gonna snap off this event, but like he's got a fun mix of pace of play. You never know if he's gonna make the ball in the back of the pocket, or if he's just gonna dog it completely. And he's shown some current form. He travels all over the world. He's got a ton of personality. Like
yep.
check, check, check all the boxes. Um, Jeffrey rode us through after a 9-6 grindy type win over Lucas. Sullivan Clark, another Kiwi, up 6-3 on Copenhagen. Mike, that might be a bit
Yeah,
of an upset to keep an eye
that
on as
would be
well.
huge. Yeah,
David losing yesterday, that was a bit of a surprise. And this matchup in single elimination is massive. And I wanted to get to it a little bit later on, but since I'm on it, David's playing Mickey, Mike.
yeah. A lot
In
at stake there.
a lot at stake. A lot at stake. And this
Yeah,
is kind of like the part of pool as it pertains to gambling that I just love, because if you look at rankings and all these things in current form, it's like you would probably bet on like you would say Mickey should be a favorite, but I think that David, I would actually peg David as a bit of a favorite just from an experience standpoint
yeah, yeah. I mean,
in
when
this
you put
match.
David's against the wall, you get maybe a little bit different David than when he's free rolling in first round or second round, whatever. So yeah, David
He
will be.
plays consistently with like a chip on his shoulder, does David,
Yeah,
especially like in this part of the year, you know. And I was a victim of not giving that guy respect before, and he reminded me and many other fans why he's still just as much of a dangerous threat in a tournament like this as anyone, and the way that he travels and his professionalism, his diet, all these things, like he handles things really well. And I'm real curious to see, because I feel like that's going to have huge, huge, huge Mosconi Cup implications for how the rest of the year is going to play out. But especially in this event, because if you're Mickey, David can make a $3,000 leap on you right there. And
right,
I don't think Mickey's safe in terms of making that team this year. And David,
right.
given his decorated style and how much Jason's going to love picking veterans. It's like there's a lot of things that are going to go against Mickey. So I kind of feel like you got to come away with a victory there, Mike.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Yulong Chang, a lot of people pointing to him in this tournament, saying, we've watched him. If you've seen the last couple tournaments, the guy's, uh, he's playing pretty well right now. So he's going to be dangerous.
Yeah.
Josh
He,
is
he kind
through.
of reminds me of like,
Tachi's through.
yeah, no, Josh had a beautiful performance today against Roberto, Mike. I mean, him and Jason. And I know I like to give Jason a little bit of shit sometimes from odd standpoints coming into tournaments, but Jay looked about as sharp as anybody yesterday playing on TV table, Mike. Like his break was looking pretty solid. And outside of like a dog nine ball, he was like a razor's edge. Mike was Jason. I mean, it was great to go and watch. Like it looked like he was living up to like that hype that they go and build on him
Yeah,
every year.
yeah,
Um, and to be fair to him, he usually has a pretty good U.S. Open. So we'll see how the draw treats him, especially considering how there's going to be so many killers on the one loss side that are going to come through. Sullivan up 7-3 now on Copenhagen. Look out, Mike. The Vietnamese players have been a storyline for me as well, and it's been that way over the last two majors, actually like three majors, going back to the World Championships. Now that I think about it, I think they're
yeah,
they're going to be a force, Mike, and I hope they're going to be a force because they're fun and they bring a lot of eyes to watch him pull.
yeah, yeah. No, they've been playing really well. Though the Long got beat pretty bad by Carlo. He did not he was not the most impressive performer so far.
No, but he had a win right before that round, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember who it was against. Maybe it was David, but yeah. And, I mean, but it's Carlo, right? Like,
Right.
even if you take away the world championship this year, Carlo would still be a top
Yeah. Yeah.
eight favorite. You know what I mean? Just going into the event. So, Wojciech sends Levan to the one loss side. Filler, like you mentioned, Big Kachi beating Kopin Han. Sky Woodward, another American, down to the one loss side after today. But Seth, Mike, I want to see this guy on TV table, and this has kind of been like my pissed off moment of this tournament is that I haven't been able to see this guy at all, and it seems like his ceiling is just here, and they're just like, letting it go by the wayside, Mike.
Well, it's the U.S. Open, so they're going to focus on the U.S. players. They're going to focus on Earl. They're going to focus on Shane. They're going to focus
Yeah,
on Federer. So that kind of comes with the territory. He
fair.
makes the final 64. You got to believe that they'll throw him on a TV table. If everybody on social's talking about him, I mean, they have their ear to the ground.
They
Uh,
do.
so if he's a person that everyone wants to see, you make provisions. I mean,
Yeah,
they're running four tables, on streaming, so you got a lot of opportunity.
I think he'll end up on table 4 before it's all said and done. At least I hope so, anyway. And I mean, I hope I get to see him before this tournament's over. Like, I hope he doesn't fizzle out in the one loss side because he's got a potential to be a great story as well, and we need it right now. Jason, like I mentioned, up or wins 9-2 over Elliot. Moritz 9-4 over Conrad. Mike, I made a post the other day about Vogel, and obviously the comparison was towards Moritz, but I want to ask you that same question, Mike. You think Felix is sneaking up on him in that number 2 ranking on the German team?
I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, he's really good. Obviously, he's going to be great. Uh, but Moritz has been, to me, putting in that time in the last year or two that where you put yourself into those situations with these top players again and again and again and again. And so, yeah, could Felix have a surprise tournament? Sure, he's got that kind of talent. But, is Felix going to be, a top 20 point getter by next year? Whereas Moritz is already there.
Right.
So at this point, I wouldn't say that he's behind them, but he's in the rearview mirror for sure.
He definitely is in the rearview mirror at this point. It's to be expected for a lot of different reasons. When Moritz first comes on the scene, he was Christoph on the other side of Filler. We had never really heard of him basically, and he goes and wins a World Cup of pool. And then he's parlayed that into a pretty consistent and steady career to at this point of his life. And but no, listen, I love watching Moritz play. I like his style. I just don't want him to get lost in this like middle of the pack European abyss that so many guys get lost into. It's like they're great being that like top 9 through 30, right? And they're all great players. They can pretty
Yeah,
much whoop most of the Americans behind, but it's like they're so deep and lack of personality and all these things where it's just like you
they
kind of
just get
become
lost. Yeah,
you kind of become an afterthought, Mike. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
I'll be honest with you, like I tuned into that match against Felix and Earl just because of a bit of the Earl factor, but also I want to see how this kid's gonna handle the Earl bullshit. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I love his composure, Mike, like his
yeah,
steadiness on the table and the way that he was handling all that can be faded. And plus, like you you're supposed to drown a little bit on the TV table at the US Open against Earl Strickland, especially when you're 17 years old. That kid showed like he's got a huge upside, Mike,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. He looks like he's got not a lot of fear in him. That's for sure.
Franco says Jeremy Jones stepping up at the US Open. Jeremy coming off another
Yeah.
hill win, sneaking through, Mike, once again.
I want to see him on a TV table. I want to see a shot clock.
Double J for the Mosconi Cup. Let's start
A double
making
a double J Hill match is usually about 4 hours.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. No, he's look. There's a few guys that are going to go towards the end of the round. Every
Yeah,
round that they're playing in, Double J is one of them. If you want to pick an over under on time, bet the over on Double J's match. One pocket rotation, it don't matter. So, but he sneaks away. He's a grinder. Wu Kun Lin comes off a 9-5 win over Claudio, sending our guy
Yeah,
over to the one loss side. That was a hell of a match, Mike, from what I was watching on the scoreboard. And I wish it would have been on TV table because I think through 10 games, it was tied up 5-5 after Claudio got down pretty big early on.
yeah. Claudio, looked pretty good in his match against Felix. Um,
That was a
so
great match. I watched most every ball of that one, Mike. It
yeah,
was
he
a
looked pretty
great,
sharp.
great match. Yeah. And it was like it was a tale of like they're both really young, right? In a similar
Yeah,
range of age. But it just showed that like and I'm not being victim of the moment here in terms of like Cledio's semifinals appearance. It's like it just seemed like Cledio's here and Felix is down here. Like compared to him. No knock on Felix, but it was like Cledio just
and that's kind
looked
of
the
like
real deal.
watching those two. I felt like I would have thought the same thing watching Moritz and Felix. Moritz is not at Cledio's level, but he's close enough where he's still to me above Felix.
It's
That's the
yeah,
point
yeah,
I
yeah,
was trying
yeah,
to make
yeah.
before.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. And I mean, look, I like just having the conversation, but I do feel like, look, as you can say, and you can say that Cledio's lapped Moritz to some extent, not maybe lapped, but he's ahead of him at this point. But like Felix is coming, and if you're Moritz being number two, especially if that event in the World Cup pool comes back, it's like you want to make sure and you gotta handle your business, And it was a year ago at this event where Moritz is there with this, hot tea and shaking
Yeah,
on TV table, and it was so brutal to watch because the kid, was this close to making a pretty good Mosconi Cup run, and then it's like, you don't want to get, like I said, sucked into the abyss that can be the European depth. So just something to kind of keep an eye on. Mike, I'll ask you the same question you asked me. Were there any surprises for you for guys making it through singles to this point?
you know, I don't know about big surprise, but I was happy to see Tyler win three straight matches and get through. I don't think you
Yeah.
said that was expected. I never expected three straight out of a lot of American players. So,
Who did he face, Mike? Do we know?
well, he beat Raymond Linares. He beat Brent Worth, I think, and then Georgie.
He-
So
George is a solid one. No
yeah,
disrespect to him.
Georgie's
I
a
love the guy.
solid. Yeah, Georgie was a solid win for sure. So it gets him gets him feeling loose, feeling confident. I'm sure. So I'd love to see him, make a run. Um, I was glad to see Niels get through to the final 64 through the winners bracket. Um, you know, Bernie, obviously, I picked him early on, so it's good to see him playing well. Um, as far as surprises, not really a lot.
What are your day three picks looking like in terms of guys if you were to give me, let's say, three or four guys that you would go and bundle in to win the tournament outside of the obvious, Mike, because I know the first two are going to be taken up by SVB and Federer for you.
Why do you always say that?
Per usual.
What was the last tournament I picked SVB to win? U.S. Open last year.
Probably, yeah. But I
Yeah.
just like, listen, I gotta give you shit. That's just part of coming on the show, Mike. You know what I mean? So
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens in that final 64. There's still some winners bracket matches still got to go through. Johan's playing Roland. Victor's playing Jesus.
trap match.
Really
Trap
good
match for
matches.
both.
Couple really
Yeah.
good matches there. But it's hard not to like Yap at this point as one of those guys. You think
Yep.
he's firing on all cylinders. It certainly looks like. I mean, he took Marvin Assis apart. So you got to like his chances. As far as other guys who's gone through, it's cool to see Simon Corral. I mean, he's a really good player.
Part of
Glad
that
to see
Polish
him.
contingent, Mike, that's just completely
Yeah.
deep and just steady as can be.
So yeah, he's one of the guys I'll be watching in the next round. Um, I want to see. I'd like to see a couple Americans get through the losers bracket and into that final 64. I'd like to see a Lucas or a Payne McBride or something like that get through that way. Um, they certainly have a chance. I mean, I think Hunter's still playing as well. So there's a couple opportunities there.
Give me, give me like two favorites and two kind of dark horses to that you would pick to go and snap off this event. And I'll give you a Yap as one of them since you already went down that
Yeah,
road.
yeah, yep, yep. Would be one of my favorites to win. Um, Man, I kind of want to pick Josh because I just feel like he's gonna have one of those big events again soon. I know he won earlier this year, but this is a different level here, and he did not do much at the World Championship. So um, I'll go. Well, I'm going to stick with. Actually, I'm going to stick with my main guy, Bernie. So Bernie and Yap, as far as pure dark. Well, Bernie's kind of a dark horse, but I'll stick with him as a
I'll
favorite.
give you look. I'll give you Bernie as a dark horse. I'll give you Bernie
Okay.
because even though he was in the semifinals of the World Championships, you know what I mean. So
All right.
as
Yep.
much as can be, yeah, for
Yep.
sure, yeah.
Yep. And Fran.
Is okay. So Yap and Fran are your
Yeah.
favorites, and
And
who
then
who Bernie and if you
Bernie and
only want
Jesus.
three,
Bernie and
Jesus.
Jesus.
Ooh, Jesus is a pretty good one. Jesus is a pretty good one. Look, I'm gonna bandwagon a little bit on my boy Franco's comment there and in the chat.
Oh,
And
you're trying to make up ground with Jason. I know that.
no, I'm not. Fuck that. I listen. I pissed off enough players as it is. And look, I'm not. I really look. Beating Elliott 9-2 is to be like if you're Jason, that's what you're supposed to do. You know, and you're supposed to go and handle your business. But it was just like if you're firing like that right now, then I feel like, and given how big of a personality that he is and all these things and that part of the country he usually does pretty well in, you know, I'm gonna pick Jason to make a run. I think he's got at a minimum a final eight written on him the way that I saw him play yesterday. Now, if he doesn't get and listen, he's a guy who has notoriously fizzled out in single elimination in
Right.
rounds he's not supposed to fizzle out in. You know what I
Right.
mean? So like I'm not saying my opinion means shit on him, but I do think that I do feel like in this event, the way that I saw him play yesterday, I think his upside is huge in this event. My second favorite, damn, now I got three favorites because I agree with you on Yap, Mike. I do, and I'm not gonna pick him, but I'm gonna pick Filler instead of Yap, but it's
Okay.
close, and I feel like I'm gonna regret it, because Yap's just got that kind of consistency to him this year. But look, Filler the same way as Jason. It's like he didn't have too many hiccups. I feel like everything he was supposed to do, he did. Especially in that match against Roberto, he had a really good pulse on being aggressive and executing well. And I think his all around game is just really sharp. He's battle tested in big tournaments. Oh, by the way, he's won this event before. Mike
Yeah.
has Josh and Jason for that matter. Um, but yeah, no, I like current form means a lot to me, and the immediate I value quite a bit. And if I'm going dark horse, um, if I'm going dark horse, I'm picking that kid from Taiwan who's just a monster, and you can probably name five guys before you'll get to my guy, but I'm picking Wu Kun Lin, Mike.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Okay.
that match against Cledio was really solid for me, and it kind of reminds me of like Carlo versus Ko Ping Chung in terms of like seeing the back and forth and seeing current heavyweights, trade racks and
Yeah.
all these things. And I didn't get to sweat that match obviously in person or online, but um, when you talk about signature wins, Wu Kun Lin was in a finals of an Indonesia event just recently,
Right.
in the Predator event. You know, Chang Jin Lin meant a lot to him, and hopefully he can kind of serve his memory pretty well by making another great run in this tournament. I'd
Cross
love that.
inspiration. Yeah.
I'd love to see that story as well. I'll be honest, I was really rooting for Wu Kun Lin in that finals in
Yeah.
in Indonesia as well. But I'll go Wu Kun Lin. And then my other dark horse, boy, oh boy, I don't know, man. Can I get like just Team Philippines minus Carlo and Chua just as a dark horse as a whole? Like, is that can I can I
Wow.
get
Now
like
you're
20
well,
guys?
Now you get all sorts of shit from the Filipinos for calling everybody dark horses except for
No,
Chile.
no,
Yeah,
no. I mean, look, I mean,
how
listen,
sensitive they are.
nobody else is on Carlos or Chua's level for that matter, from in my opinion, not yet anyway, but they certainly have the potential. Um, no, I mean the Philippines are just going to be a tough out for anybody,
Yeah,
and so you could literally go through like,
they're coming
you
in
know,
big numbers these days, so it makes it it makes it dangerous, land.
well, it is, and especially considering that when they show up with big numbers, they usually go back home with a pretty good amount of the prize
Yeah,
fund
yeah.
back with them. So,
It's like a
um,
Filipino minefield.
oh yeah, and there's listen, it's great to watch. I like seeing these young kids just do really well, and it's a young mix. It's a mix of young versus seasoned
Yeah,
as well. And so yeah, I'm gonna be curious and keeping an eye on those guys as well. But yeah, to be honest with you, and I'm sure you would say the same thing. It's still a little just it's close to being too early to tell. And listen, when you're through 2 days or 3 days of the U.S. Open, names are supposed to go and win, right? Like Jason's supposed to win all the matches to this point. Filler's supposed to win all these matches to this point.
yeah. Well, at this point, still, all the players are just in the mindset of just get me to the 64, and then we'll roll the dice from there. So it's
Yeah,
just kind of a grind for the players at this point. Are they doing three straight, or do they have to win two, go through the losers bracket to win a third one? Whatever. Are they playing 3 matches, 4 matches? They just want to get to that 64. So we expect, you know, most most of them, if not all of them, that we would expect to get to the last 64 to be in the last 64. It'd
yeah,
be interesting to see if this last 64 is missing anyone of note. And I would say it's really unlikely.
yeah. I agree with you. I mean, like outside of like a Mario He being out, because you wouldn't have expected that from Mario, and I would have put a little sweater on him. Depending on his odds amount. That's real disappointing, especially considering how the last couple of years have been,
Yeah.
in terms of like where he's been at relative to just getting across the finish line in terms of making a finals appearance or making a Mosconi run. Um, yeah, I'm just kind of. It seems everything for me kind of seems a little bit par for the course, which is great, and
Yeah. Yeah. I want the last 64 to be as competitive as we can get. I don't want to see Sky out. I don't want to see, I want to see,
well, let me ask you this:
I
Would you
want to
be
see
would you be
where,
shocked if Sky's not in the final 64?
would I be shocked? No,
Yeah.
not really. Wouldn't
Well, but you would have been shocked if he would have lost this last match, no? And I mean, he went on to lose it.
Well, I don't know. I can't say that I knew a lot about the guy who was playing.
Same, yeah, like we mentioned earlier. Yeah,
So yeah, I kind of guess I would have assumed he was going to win. But and he didn't. But he lost not really playing all that great too. So that was kind of a bad flag too. So would I be shocked if he didn't make the final 64? Probably not. But I want to see him in there because if he gets in there, we've seen him make runs before. So I want to see a 64 where that round of 64 has some really juicy matchups.
yeah, yeah. I mean, look, you would expect that. I Going into the tournament, and I probably would have put Sky at like final 32. Final 32. I feel like is pretty fair considering that he hasn't been playing a whole lot. And you can't do that these days with the depth and the consistency and professionalism that is the WNT Pro, standard these days, Mike. And so
Right?
I just don't think you're not going to have a lot of time to get your wheels greased and to get in rhythm because there's plenty of traps. This last match included, like you mentioned, and I said the same thing. I couldn't pick that dude out of a lineup.
Yeah,
Now obviously you're going to give like a certain level of respect because of the flag, right? Certain
yeah, yeah,
certain certain countries just
yeah.
they get that
When you see a
by default.
Filipino flag or a Taiwanese flag, you're like, okay, do not
Yep.
underestimate. This
My first thought is when I see that, like especially because I look at it from a degenerate standpoint. It's like, okay, well, how many games can I get taking the Taiwanese guy, or how many games can I get taking the unknown
yeah, yeah.
Filipino guy?
You're gonna say
Because it's
those
like,
guys are gonna kiss him off, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
well, I mean, I just you want to get your money in as best you can, right? So, but that's kind of like where I look at it. I mean, look, if you don't make if you don't make it to singles, if you're a guy like Sky, huge disappointment, and that's going to be like the problem I feel like with the way that they're running the ship these days. It's like I don't know what the inspiration is for Sky to, other than whatever he's got in here, right? Like he's going to be on the Mosconi Cup. There's an extra 20,000 right there, right? So why go and spend the extra money to go somewhere or be anywhere if it's just not needed to keep your bottom line the same,
So you don't
Or
expect to see him in Hanoi or the Philippines?
um I would say no. I don't, and I don't know that to be the case. And I would assume Matchroom would push them to go out there, especially considering that you're heading into that stretch that is going to be the Reyes and Mosconi Cup, and he's great for television. He actually had a pretty good run in Hanoi last year. He lost to Fran in a grinding match in his own right, so maybe Hanoi. But yeah, and don't get me wrong, I want to see him. I want to see him go deep. I want to see him in the final eight because there's not too many like American strands of hope that I can hold on to.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like Franco says, Copigny versus SVB. If he beats BJ, he should. Oh wow,
Well,
that's
yeah.
that's
So we know that either Copigny or Shane or both aren't going to be in the final 64.
would be. Who do you think doesn't go in? Because Copigny didn't get into singles in the World Championship.
No, he
So
didn't because Shane knocked
so
him out of there too.
did he? Was it
Yeah,
Shane?
yeah.
Holy shit! I
So
you know that would. I mean, they're gonna have that on TV table, which would just be great. But
well, first Shane's got to get through BJ Ussery. So
what's the score? When you say get through, I mean, where
three
are we
two,
at?
three
Ooh,
two.
boy, let me tell you, BJ might bust
Only
up the
going to
whole
eight.
bracket here. Yeah.
And you're
Well,
only going to eight, so you gotta, But then, yeah, then it would be Shane against. If he gets through that, then it's Shane against
who do you
Copigny.
think? Who do you think Matchroom's rooting for? BJ or Shane?
I'll tell you what, they're rooting for Shane even if he plays Co.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for sure,
you want
100%.
Shane in the final 64, chasing six. I mean,
Well,
that's
that would be
that's a hanger.
like the letdown of the tournament if Shane
Yeah,
doesn't
with especially
at least
reaching
get through
the final
singles.
last year
Yeah,
and
yeah.
getting that close
Back to back
last year.
finals coming into it and all the expectations
Yeah,
associated with that. Yeah,
yeah.
no, 100% agree with you. There's some other matches that are going to go on in single elimination. I mean, that are already going to be in losers qualification that are going to be good. Vogel versus Thorsten. Hunter coming off a win off of Alex, but he's in one loss side facing Emil. Maciel against Ralph. I'm just kind of looking through here.
Atterberg and Mika.
Hatterberg and Mika Young. That's a tale of two tapes, Mike. Opposite sides of the spectrum there in terms of where they are in their respective careers. Let me see. Alexa and Albert, who just took out Mario. Harry, and Claudio. Okay, wait a minute. That might ring a bell for a trap match for me, Mike, because Harry was the one that busted up SVB in Hanoi, coming with probably outside of the Z shot, it might be the greatest shot I've ever seen, like in pool. I swear to God, Mike. I don't know if you know the shot I'm talking about, but that kid hit one of the most after he got a roll. He hit one of the most coldest like shots of just rolling a ball full table that I've ever seen in my
Oh
entire
yeah, I
life.
do remember that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was
I
that was
mean,
cold, that was cold blooded.
that was just listen, Harry's got a ton of upside. I'm still picking Claudio in that match. But yeah, Harry can shock the world in his own right. So Alex and Conrad, Jonas and Elliot. Jonas and Mickey better handle their business, Mike. I'm gonna
Yeah,
say that right now because to me, especially heading into this afternoon round, that's where those are the two guys that I'm keeping an eye on, because those are the guys with expectations and pressure. And there's going to be a lot of that if you expect to be playing in December, Mike, and so,
we've seen
um,
this. We've seen this act, in recent years where the kind of like outsider was right on the verge of making Team Europe,
Victor
from their
comes to
first
mind.
half of the year performance, and in the second half of the year, little disappearing act, and all of a sudden they're gone.
Well, look at Labutis, Mike. He's someone we haven't mentioned
Yeah,
this whole thing, and he finds himself in the top. What is it? Whatever it is, 6 in rankings, and huge disappointment to fizzle out in the World Championship, and then followed by this event. It's like, man, this
yeah,
was your time to make a move, and especially considering where you started at, And unfortunately, if you're one of these like abyss Europeans, it's like this is the time of year where you have to give them a reason to keep you out, you know?
Yeah.
So you have to make moves if you're in the spotlight. That David and Mickey match is just got so many implications that we talked about early on. John says the second best German made the final 64. He's a Moritz guy for sure. Uh, so I'll be looking forward to seeing how far Moritz can go, especially how last year went for him as well. Oscar's got one more matchup along with Lucas
Yeah.
Copigny, a bunch of others trying to get through single elimination as well. So yeah, a lot of great things to kind of keep an eye on this afternoon, Mike.
Yeah.
Who are some other names that you're kind of looking at whenever you head over there?
Tomorrow, well, there's guys I want. I hope Mika's still playing tomorrow when I get there.
Yeah,
I
same.
hope Torsten's still playing tomorrow when I get there. I love seeing them play. I've been watching them for a long time. And then some of the young guys. I'd like to see some of the young guys sneak through there. I want to see. Love to see Felix. Uh,
Well,
you know,
Felix is playing Thorsten, Mike. So if you want to take Thorsten, I'll be glad to give you
well,
some friendly dogging it action. You know,
oh, you mean I get Felix, you get Torsten?
what do you mean? I'll take the young pup. Okay, for I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'll take him for a dinner bet, but I might take him for a lunch bet. You know, like Banya style. You know what I
It's
mean? Like a.
hey,
I'll
listen,
do
I
it.
can break. Don't worry, I can break you at lunch too.
No, listen. If it ain't 5 o'clock, you ain't going.
I can
You ain't getting happy hour. You know.
I can
So.
break you at lunch too.
I think it's going to be a great matchup, and kudos to Felix for kind of weathering that matchroom pressure storm that they're kind of putting them in at this point, you know. And but matches like this, you have to go and handle, you know. And I know that Claudio won. Listen, you have all the excuse in the world to go and lose it, but that would have been a huge opportunity for that kid if he goes and
Yeah, no, that's yeah.
wins that match, because then it's like you get just sucked into this next
You
level
kind of
of
felt,
being promoted.
as I was watching that match, I kind of felt like Cledio knew that was the storyline too. That people were waiting to see, is this young kid going to come up and win one of those matches and keep cruising in the winner's side? And Cledio had that kind of look on his face, like not on my watch.
I'll be honest with you. Like he gives me this vibe, like he just doesn't give a fuck, like at all.
Cledio,
Like he just play
yeah,
like
yeah, no,
and very much kind of similar to Big Brother, you know, where he's just like, and it kind of reminds me of that Finnish kid yesterday, where he just listen, I'm playing my game. Like I don't care who it is. I know what I can do, but he's not talking about what he does. He's not, you know, over animated one way or the other. He just goes out there and just handles his business. And I like ruthless players like that, Mike. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like I value that really high. And maybe I'm just, you know, kind of in this era of filler, you know what I mean, where I just am in awe of the way that he plays and beats big names and, you know, takes over moments and all these things. But I think Cladio's got that kind of pedigree to him, and I hope that Felix does too, because the way that he was pocketing the ball the other day, whenever I saw it, was like, man, that kid's ceiling is high. And I'm not saying he's got world championship written on him in the next 5 years, but I certainly think he's got like quarterfinals at worst, you know, just seeing what I saw yesterday. So, but yeah, no, look, I hope Americans make a run. I don't think it'll be the case, especially when you start looking into, you know, the business end of it, final 16s and so on, you know, and that's where like your dance really begins, you know. I feel like if you're Matchroom, you know, you want to have as much of these Moscone guys as possible. If not, you're going to start seeing and you should start seeing a change into the guard, because you know
Well,
if you
from that standpoint, I think I'm anxious to see how far Tyler goes. I mean, he's made one deep run this year. I'd like to see him make two in a year, so that it's not a fluke. So it doesn't look like, we have these aberrations every now and then where someone reaches the Final Four. You get him into the Final Eight, Final Four of a second big matchroom event. Then you're talking about, okay, there's progress, up here and in the technical game. So yeah, I'd love to see. That's the American I'd probably like to see go deep the most.
I'd probably agree with you, you know, and I hate it. I hate to agree with Uncle Mike, you know, but I probably I'd probably agree with you, you know, and it's look, you mentioned here, that's kind of where I admire Tyler the most, you know, is his mental toughness because he's taken a lot of shit over the course of his career, you know, and but he's handled it with professionalism and let his game kind of do the talking, even whenever his game wasn't doing the talking, you know, and he's
Even
not a
when the
kid.
game wasn't doing the talking, he was still doing the talking. I mean,
Well, that's true.
but that's I like that. Some of his self belief was almost borderline delusional in some cases.
Yeah.
but I'm okay with that because you got to
You
convince
have to.
yourself
Yeah.
that you can get this done and that you played better than you really did or whatever you need to do to get you
Will
to
it
the
into existence, Mike, and it'll be there, you know, and listen, along with hard work
yeah.
and all these things, right? Like a
He
good
puts
ethic
in
and
the
all
work.
these. He does.
He
He's a
puts in the
workhorse
work.
for sure. Look,
Yeah.
I just I'm not saying that I would necessarily because I would obviously want to see the draw because I'm just nitty like that. But I would hope that he can make a bit of a run, you know,
Yeah.
and that flash in the pan that we saw earlier this year has a potential to be consistency if you can turn it into that, you know, and
Yeah.
if you were to go and say like again depending on the draw, like I may take Tyler against a few other Americans in a bit of a last longer, you know what I mean, and so
Yeah.
but look, there was a comment early on when we started the show in regards to like John and you know being like mentally rattled by someone looking at him. Like Tyler's a kid where and he's especially being in the Mosconi Cup, like he's heard a lot of things
Yeah.
when he's out there playing, you know. And I'll never forget that first Mosconi Cup at Bally's because there was some pretty vulgar things being said to him while he's down on the ball, you know, and that room of 4,000 people got real quiet when those comments were said, you know, and it was real personal and real out of line. But that kid, like he may have turned red as a cherry, but he still went out there and played, Mike, you know, and um I admire that about him. It's like he takes the good when it's good, but he doesn't like let it you know, he doesn't get too high on himself, you
Right.
know. But like the bad, he also can accept with enough awareness and perspective to know. And I'll give you an example on this before we transition to the end of the show. But it reminds me of Jonas, right? Because I was watching this clip on his Instagram after I don't know what final was he in this year, Mike? UK or something? Was it
Uh,
or European maybe? Or was he in a quarterfinal, semifinal? Maybe the chat can help us out. But Jonas in the chat, I mean Jonas
we watched too much pool.
way too much pool. But Jonas went deep, right? And I was
Yeah.
following his Instagram after, and he's doing a really good job of putting out content, especially getting
Yeah.
those Latin American viewers in. And that's a big opportunity, huge opportunity there. But anyway, there was this reel that I'm watching, and he's like thanking his haters, you know. And I was kind of like, do what now? Like you're doing, and he's just like, thank you for the haters for you know. And it's after coming off of that, and in my head, I'm thinking, well, what's what were you expecting? Like, were you because when I think about the big boys, Mike, it's they're disgusted if they ain't gonna win. Like you
You're right.
ask Shane what he feels like getting to a final of the US Open last year. You know, because me and you asked him, we know the answer to him, you know,
Yeah.
and he's not taking these pats on the back to be like, oh, well, you know what, I fuck the haters. No, he wants to win, and like you said the other day, it's like he's going into a tournament to win or bust. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
um, it's like when I saw that, it kind of made me think like, well, like I said, what were you trying to accomplish then? Because if I thought it was the goal was to win, you know, and I know you can take these small victories within a season, don't get me wrong, but not enough to go and give a thank you letter to your haters out there, you know, because that just kind of like it just it just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I want to see more of that Tyler having that Kobe kind of mentality, you know, and
Right.
it may rub people the wrong way, you know. But he's not afraid to go down that road and to take that heat alongside with it. And whether it's good criticism or positive things being said about him, he takes it in stride. And I really admire that about that kid. And I can't
Yeah.
say that about too many players. And I don't know about the generation of players you were covering, Mike, but like being around, over the last few years, there's a lot of soft motherfuckers out there. Like a lot of soft players out there who get their feelings hurt more than what they want to admit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, anyhow, Mike, what matches are you going to be watching this afternoon outside of the hopefully Copigny and SVB match?
Uh, well,
SVB's up 5-2 now, so there you go. Jesus is up 3-1.
is he okay? Yeah, that's Jesus. I'm going to turn that on right now. Um, you know, coming up. I don't know what matches they're going to have on the TV table.
They better have that David and Mickey one.
David
'Cause
Mickey probably
that
be
thing's
on,
got
on one of the
huge
TV
implications.
tables. Hopefully they'll have Bassett on one of them. That would be good
Yeah,
match to watch, even if it's table 4.
I'll take table
So
4. Yeah, I just want to. I want to see where he's at on the equipment and against a good player. And Robbie is solid. I like to be honest with you. I put a lot more weight on that match on Robbie than I do against Bassett because in my head I'm thinking that's a match that Bassett should probably win if they're playing in Asia. And so Robbie coming through just kind of gives me hopes to where his game is at this point of the season. And I was kind of rooting for him last year to make the
certainly, if
Rangers.
Shane wins, Shane and Copigny will be on the TV table too. So
100%. Yeah. Look, there's a
so
lot of
there's plenty to watch, and it's been really fun to watch. I mean, I have 4 screens up at one time all the time watching these matches. It's fun.
It is, yeah, and I'm the same. I'm a pull nut like that. So, and I'm going to be doing that here in just a moment. Payne's going to be a good story to watch. Kudos to him for coming out with a solid win against Vitali yesterday. So I want to see him do well. I want to see him just like don't let that be what your story is for the event. And that's one thing like with some players where and it's kind of like what I just mentioned in terms of Jonas. It's like, what are your expectations? Because like that Payne over Vitali win is solid. Vitali was in the semifinals last year of this event. And I know in the last 4 months, 5 months, 6 months haven't been what we had been seeing the previous year and a half from Vitali. But like if you're Payne, it's like, man, that's a great win you can go and capitalize on. But the key is, Mike, you have to capitalize on it, right? Like you
Yeah,
can't
you do.
forget that. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like Jesus right now playing Victor. It's like, yeah, the Florida Open was great and all, but like, what are you going to do now? Like, are you going to rest on that success, you have, or are you going to go and just continue showing the world what you're capable of, which is what these big boys do.
Yeah, yeah.
So, um, all right, Mike, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Nope, I'm all good. Ready for
Are you
tomorrow. Ready for the final 64. Ready to be there in person. Ready to give some
are you
people.
going to be able to do shows out there? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Okay. Well, let's see. We need to talk to Filler. We need to talk to Emily. We need to talk to and on the at the same show.
Maybe
By the way,
I can get a round table. I can get a round table
that'd
with
be good. Who else?
Filler,
Who else can we throw in there then?
Emily.
That's a
I
good
don't know
start.
who else can we come up with that.
Throw Feder in there while you're at it because I got a few questions.
Chua.
Okay, so then
We got to get a Filipino in there.
okay, so then Kachi's the next natural one, right? So we're gonna have Kachi on there. So we'll have like a good community there.
I'll do a little sit down with Kachi and Chua.
There you go. Well, actually, you're pretty ruthless enough in your own right where you probably will do something with Kachi. So, anyhow, make sure and keep your notifications on. We'll be live over the next couple of days. Mike, let me know whenever you're free and we'll get you on the show. And yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out with us. It's been a fun hour with you. Make sure and go sweat WNT TV for the rest of the US Open. There's going to be a ton of action going on, and they do a pretty good job on those 3 tables streaming. And I want to end on that, Mike, because we gave them shit during the World Championships, and I've been sweating a lot of this from home. It's been incredibly solid. Yeah, it's
really
been.
solid. Yeah, so
they've done a really good job on keeping up with that and making sure it's what fans were hoping for. So go support them. $10 a month. You get to check out the rest of the whole event. It's going to be at least 3 tables on there until single table time. So anyhow,